Are you also getting this wrong? Most people think that in order to have success, they need to wake up early, meditate, visualize, do a cold plunge, and all those productivity habits that we think we need to do in order to be successful. But what if those habits are actually preventing you from having the real success you want? I will let you in on a secret and give you the three number one habits that you need to adopt if you want to have real success. I currently run a really successful business, and I speak to so many people who are high achievers, who want to have success, who set high goals and have high standards, and they put in so much effort and energy into achieving their goals and having success. And I see them doing the same mistake over and over again as I did as well. The biggest mistake I see people doing is spending a lot of time and energy and focus on productivity hacks. Maybe you've read the 5 a.m. Club. Maybe you also think that you need to get up early and meditate, visualize, do a cold plunge, do yoga, stretching, exercise, read a book for an hour. I don't know what's on your list. You probably also think, like most other entrepreneurs and people who want to have success, that you need to do all this stuff, all those habits, all those routines in order to what? Give you success? The thing is that those habits might be the ones keeping you away from success. You know, we only have a limited amount of time, energy, and focus available every single day. And what happens when you wake up in the morning and you spend a lot of that time and energy and focus on just doing stuff? Yeah, okay, let's just be honest. There's nothing wrong with meditating, visualizing, doing yoga, stretching, reading a book, doing a cold plunge. All of that is really great stuff. I love it too. And I do it when I decide that I have that extra time and energy. Well, that's not 100% correct. I do meditate most days for like 10-15 minutes. It's a minor habit, and I do believe it is important. If I don't meditate in the morning, yeah, I might do it during lunch hours. So I'm not saying that these habits, like the productivity routines, the stuff you read about in the 5 a.m. Club, I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with it. I'm just saying that you have a limited amount of time and energy and focus. Where do you want to put it? Of course, it is 100% better to do those things than to scroll on your phone and watch Netflix or whatever. Still, what if you could spend that time, energy, and focus on really digging into your work and really moving your business forward, and the rest of the time spending it just logging off, being present with yourself, being present with your family, doing fun stuff like surfing, skiing, snowboarding, or biking, or whatever you enjoy doing. I don't know what your hobbies are. I do believe that having a hobby and doing fun stuff is super important in order to have success. So there are three main habits that you need to adopt in order to have success. And what are those? The number one habit that you need to adopt has to do with personal power. And yes, when I speak of habits, I speak of the mental habits, our emotional habits, because I'm a high performance coach. And yes, I know that you can do so many things and you can have so many morning routines and all that stuff. And in the end, what really, really creates change and what really, really moves you forward are your mental habits. And they don't have anything to do with all the stuff you do on the outside. All the outside stuff is great. Yeah, it's an extra bonus if you have time, energy, and focus. The number one thing you need to do is work on your mental habits. And what are those? The number one of those habits where I want you to start is your personal power. What do I mean with personal power? Well, it is taking 100% responsibility for yourself, for your emotions, for your thoughts, for whatever you do. You know, we humans have a tendency to give away the responsibility of how we feel, what we achieve, what we can do, what we cannot do, to give that responsibility away. And for example, a lot of people say, oh, I would have done more at work today, but this and this happened. That person called, this whatever external event or other person prevented me from getting stuff done. Does it sound familiar? I'm sure it does because that's the way we humans operate if we're not aware of it. It's so much easier for our ego to give the responsibility to someone else. It's someone else's fault that I didn't finish my to do list today. It's someone else's fault that I'm irritated today. It's someone else's fault that I didn't get enough sleep. It's someone else's fault that I didn't make that meeting on time. There's so many cases every single day where we give our power away. And it's not until you start taking 100% responsibility for yourself, your actions, your thoughts, and your emotions that you are going to have success. Because you know what happens when you give your power away? When you give the responsibility to someone else? It's like saying, I can't do anything in order to make it better, to get somewhere, to achieve my goals. I depend on someone else to do it. And is someone else really going to give you success? Or is it something that you need to create yourself? Well, you get the answer, right? You need to create it yourself. There's no one else that will give you success. It's something you create on your own. So, as long as you are putting the blame on something else or someone else, you're not going to have success. You're going to stay exactly where you are. When we speak about personal power, we often spend a lot of time digging into other people's business, being annoyed with other people, being irritated, talking about other people, just like maybe have a fight with a neighbor, maybe a colleague is doing something or a friend is doing something, and you're spending a lot of time and energy talking about it, speaking about all their shortcomings. Why aren't they doing this or that? They should have been doing that. And I'm better. I know better. Just like digging into other people's lives. Every second of the day, you have 100% of focus available. Where do you choose to put that focus? On other people's business? Or your own, being irritated and annoyed with something, or focusing on whatever drives you forward, being disappointed, or focusing on what drives you forward, being overwhelmed, or focusing on what drives you forward. Wherever you put your focus, that is where you're going to move. So your focus determines whether you stay stuck or you move forward, whether you just stay where you are or whether you have success. And it's all connected to your personal power. Are you choosing to think about your own business, minding your business, your goals, your dreams, your to-do list, your day? Does your focus match your dreams, the life you want to live? If you want to live a life with success, where you're happy, healthy, is that where your focus is at, or is it somewhere else? Are you annoyed? Are you irritated? Are you overwhelmed? We're all humans, right? So our focus goes to all these places. And it's your job to pull it back wherever you want it to be in order to create the life that you want to live. Habit number 2 that you need to adapt in order to have success is mental flexibility. What does that mean? What is mental flexibility? Well, you can be rigid and you can be flexible. And people who have a very rigid and limited mindset, they tend to get easily overwhelmed. They tend to see things black and white. It's either like that or it's like that. Either I'm good or I'm bad. Either I failed or I have success. There are no shades of gray for people who have a very rigid mindset, a very fixed mindset. You probably heard about growth mindset, right? So people who are mentally flexible, they have a growth mindset. They don't see anything as final. They see everything as learning. They see everything as an opportunity to learn, to develop. And there's nothing that is either black or white, like this or like that. There are always shades of gray. People who are mentally flexible, they deal with whatever comes their way. You know those people who you look up to who always seem to just like nail everything. They seem so happy. It seems like everything flows so easily to them. It's like they always have luck. You know those people, right? You know what their number one personal trait is? They're mentally flexible. There's no such thing as luck. Yeah, of course we can be lucky. The thing is, in order to have success, you need to be mentally flexible. So in life, things will happen. Problems will occur. Let's just face it. Problems will occur, and it's your ability to meet those problems that determines how much success you have. Because if you need life to be smooth and perfect without problems, you are going to be knocked over every time there's a problem. And that is going to take your focus all over the place and away from where it needs to be in order to get to your goals and have success. Mentally flexible people meet everything that happens in life with a shrug, with, okay, if that didn't work out, I'll try something else. If that didn't work out, I'll accept it. I'll move on. It doesn't mean that I have failed if I couldn't do something. I'm practicing. I'm not there yet. I'm moving on. Mentally flexible people deal with stuff without making a fuss, without getting overwhelmed. And it's a habit that you can get better at for every day. So, how do you start building mental flexibility? Well, my best advice is to always practice with the easiest things, like the small things. Don't start with the huge things like, okay, someone died and you just like, okay, that's not a problem. I'll just move on. And by the way, when something like that happens, yeah, we need to deal with our emotions. Being mentally flexible doesn't mean that you're not in touch with your emotions, that everything is just like, oh, that's not a problem. We need to accept our emotions. We need to deal with stuff when it happens and allow room for it and allow ourselves to really deal with whatever comes. Being mentally flexible is deciding how much you're going to let minor details ruin your day or not. It is how much attachment you put into expectations and how you let that ruin your day or not. I'm a fan of expecting the best and having high standards and expecting good things to happen. There's only one problem with expectations. Most people tend to really break down. Whatever happens doesn't lead up to their expectations. So we should have expectations and we should practice non-attachment. So I have high standards. I expect the best to happen. And when it doesn't go my way, when other things happen instead, I face it, I process it, and I say, okay, I'll move on. If one door closes, a new door is going to open. That's the way I face every challenge. If a door closes, it means another one will open. If what I planned for doesn't happen, it means that there's something else that's going to happen. And you know what? New doors are exciting. We think we want things to happen the way we have planned them to happen because we want to try to control our environment and our life. The thing is, like, we can't control anything. The only thing we can control our thoughts and how we react to whatever happens. So start practicing how you meet stuff that happens in your everyday life. A good place to start is, for example, okay, let's say it's early morning, you're rushing, you need to go to work, and you spill your coffee all over the kitchen floor or all over your shirt. Do you make a fuss or do you accept it and move on? What's your focus like? How much energy do you put into that being so annoying and whatever, ruining your morning? Or is it like, okay, that happened, I'll deal with it and I'll move on? So start practicing with the smaller things and then move on to the bigger things in life. Okay, maybe your house burned down. Yeah, I'm not saying that's a fun or great thing. Still, you need to move on. How much energy do you put into just being angry and frustrated and annoyed and disappointed and sad and all that stuff? The quicker you process something, the quicker you can move on. So an exercise you can do here is to practice turning your focus towards the stuff you can actually control and accepting and letting go of all the stuff you can't control. What can you actually control? You can control your thoughts and you can control your actions, but you can't control whatever is happening on the outside of you. So start practicing with minor everyday issues that occur, and then gradually, as you get better and better, because this is a skill, it's a mental habit, and the more you practice it, the better you'll get. So start practicing this, because if you don't, you will not have success, because you will spend so much time and energy being overwhelmed, being irritated, being frustrated, attaching yourself to goal, and it needs to be like this. If not, whatever. If that is you, you need to start practicing becoming more mentally flexible. The third habit that you need to adapt if you want to have success is to update your identity in order to match your goals. This is the number one thing you need to do. And why is that? Because your identity drives everything. It drives your thoughts, it drives your emotions, it drives your actions. If your identity is, I have low self esteem, I never finish what I start, money isn't for me, I can't get rich, I'm not in a good shape, whenever I try to exercise, I don't follow up, I always quit. If your identity is limiting in any sense, you're going to stay exactly there because your brain needs you to reproduce your identity. Your identity is the deepest and biggest habit there is. All habits are unconscious and they're there for a reason. Your brain needs security, and every second of the day, your brain is doing what? It is driving you towards repeating the patterns that are stored within your subconscious mind. The identity is one of the major habits that are stored there. And why does the brain need to reproduce those habits, those patterns that are stored in your subconscious mind? It needs to do it because number one, it gives safety. Your brain is so preoccupied with keeping you safe. That's a number one priority for your brain. Repeating the old patterns is safe. Doing new stuff could be dangerous. So your brain doesn't like you doing new stuff. It wants you to do the same old stuff again and again. That means repeating the patterns that are driven by your identity. And we also need our identity in order to have some mental capacity left, because imagine if you had to analyze everything from scratch whenever you were saying something, doing something, feeling something, moving, whatever you were doing. What if you had to invent that? What if it was like the first time you did something every single day, every single second of your day? You wouldn't have much time and focus and mental capacity left, right? That's why you need your habits. That's why you need to have all those patterns running in your subconscious mind so that you actually have extra mental capacity to go about in your day and do other stuff. So your identity is there in order to make life easier for yourself and your brain. So your brain doesn't have to invent everything and analyze everything. And your brain repeats those patterns because it saves energy, it's energy efficient, it's easy, and it's safe. So you will all through the day repeat the patterns which are stored in your subconscious mind, and your identity is one of the major patterns which are stored there. So what if your identity is, oh, I'm so unfocused, I lose my motivation all the time, I find it hard to get up in the morning, I need to scroll on my phone for an hour before I start work. There are a lot of really limiting things we believe about ourselves. Your identity is whatever you think and feel and know about yourself. It's how you view yourself. So, do you view yourself? Do you look at yourself as a person who is productive, who has success, who runs a 7-figure business? Or is your view of yourself a person who is struggling to make the ends meet? Whatever view you have of yourself, that is what you're going to be repeating every single day. So you need to upgrade your identity in order to match your goal. So how do you want your life to be? What do you want it to look like? What do you want to feel? What do you want to do? Where do you want to live? What do you want your life to look like? What goals do you have? What dreams do you have? Do you want to be an author? Do you want to have a successful business? Do you want to get married, have kids, be healthy? What do you want to do? Your identity needs to match that. So you're probably wondering, okay, so how do I upgrade my identity? Well, it's a process, of course. Nothing is done like overnight. It's a process, and there are several bits of the puzzle that need to be laid. First of all, the place you can start is to notice where you have limitations. Where is the resistance? Where do you feel like you're always putting in so much effort and you're not getting anywhere? Maybe you're trying to build a business and earn money, and whatever you do, you're always staying at the same level. You're never making it. Maybe you look at money as something that is immoral, something that is not for you. Maybe your identity is something you've adopted from your parents. Maybe they could never afford whatever you wanted when you were a kid, maybe they never had enough money at the end of the month. Maybe whatever you learned as you grew up that formed your identity. So start there. Start, where are there limitations? Where is the resistance? Where are you putting an effort and not getting anywhere? And then just start being aware. What do you actually think about yourself in relation to that thing? What are your thoughts? Your real thoughts on the inside? And notice if they actually match the goal you have or not. And if they don't, you're free to change them, okay? You're free to change all the beliefs you have about yourself. And it's useful also to think back and see, okay, so if you have a belief about yourself, which forms your identity, you didn't come up with it. You got it from somewhere. Someone said something, a teacher, a parent, a friend, whatever, when you were a kid, and you adopted it and you believed it. When I was a kid, I was told that I was clumsy and that I was shy. And I believed that for all my life. When I was almost 40, I challenged it. I thought I couldn't do any sports because I was clumsy. Sports wasn't for me. And then one day I tried surfing and I actually managed it. Obviously, I'm not a world champion. I didn't start when I was a kid, but I'm not clumsy. I can do it. I can actually manage it. And surfing is, one of the most difficult things you can do. And I can manage. So I believed all my life that I was clumsy and sports wasn't for me. It was just like nothing I could do. My identity was, I don't have control over my body. And it's not true. But as long as I believed it, I would limit myself and I wouldn't do those things. So I challenged myself. I realized that, you know what? I can actually manage a lot of stuff when I practice. You're not a world champion the first time you try something. So yeah, I had to practice and I got better and better. And I just realized that old belief, that identity, that I couldn't do sports, that I was clumsy and I couldn't control my body, it wasn't true. So what things are you holding on to? What do you believe about yourself that are not useful for you, that are holding you back, that don't match the life you want to live? Take out a piece of paper and a pen and sit down and write I am, and then just write down everything you believe about yourself, and then decide, do you like it or not? Does it match the life you want to live or not? And if it doesn't, then change it. Change it into something more constructive that actually gives you the life you want to live. And that is the number one most important habit that you need to adopt if you want to have success, because your identity drives everything. And how you meet everything that happens in life is your mental flexibility, and you need to take your personal power back. So forget about all those morning routines, the 5 a.m. club, all the nice stuff, the productivity routines. That is not what drives your motivation and your drive and your focus. These 3 habits are. When you adopt these 3 habits, you will have so much greater focus, so much greater drive, and so much better motivation. And you will actually fulfill your dreams, because your identity is the number one driver of your dreams.